An airport filled with passengers. People checking luggage, making sure they have their tickets, finding the right boarding gate. Pilots ready their aircraft, while flight attendants are briefed and check emergency equipment. And once the doors closed and the aircraft pushes back from the gate, the safety briefing. The standard pre-flight safety briefing tells most passengers what they need to know in case of an emergency. But there are others who may want or need safety information presented through some other means. Some may want or need an individual safety briefing.
Good morning. This is Flight 119, pre-boarding call for passengers traveling with young children or requesting assistance. Please proceed now to exit 1D.
There are passengers with needs that a standard briefing does not cover. These passengers may need more assistance or more time, or they may need information presented by a crew member in an alternate fashion. Communication is important. There are some things the passenger will need to explain. Some things will need to be explained to the passenger. This exchange of information will help ensure a safe and comfortable flight.
If you'd like to take my arm, I'll be taking you over to your seat. Your seat today is 24C. It's an aisle seat, and it's just to your right. Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Would you care for me to give you an emergency briefing this morning before the other passengers are boarded?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, great. Is this your first flight to Vancouver?
Different types of aircraft have different configurations. The first thing the passenger who is blind or visually impaired needs to do is to get his bearings on the particular airplane he is flying on.
All right. Your seat is situated 3 rows from the rear exit doors. There are 2 doors on either side. All right? Those are the doors you will most probably use in the case of an emergency evacuation. All right? All right, so if you'd like to stand up. Okay.
Have the passenger feel any features that can help orient him.
All right, sir. This is the emergency exit you'll probably be using in case of an emergency.
If you are on an aircraft equipped with a slide, explain the procedure for exiting to the passenger.
Okay.
All right. There's an identical door just on the other side of the aircraft.
Okay.
All right.
Tell him where he should stow his cane for takeoff and landing.
I'll show you where to stow it. In the key pocket just in front of you.
Other passengers may travel with a non-collapsible cane. It must be stowed for takeoff and landing.
Now your seat belt. To fasten it, you place this in into the major end there. All right, no, a little bit, there you go. All right, tighten it around your hips. There you go. And to unfasten, you lift the upper buckle. That's right. Now, great. Now, to place your chair back down, you press on the button in your armrest. There you go. And you push again to bring it up. It should always be in the vertical position for takeoff and for landing.
Okay.
All right, now great. Now I'll show you where your chair table is, just in front of you. Above, you just turn the butterfly latch,
Mm-hmm.
and you bring it down for beverage or for your dinner, whatever, and up again. And this should also be in the upright vertical position for takeoff and for landing as well.
Okay.
All right? Great. Now, if you'd like to get up, please, I'm going to show you where the call button is in your air control. All right? Right over there. There's a button there, a call button, if you need it.
Okay.
Air vent control.
Mm-hmm.
Oxygen panel.
Mm-hmm.
If the pressure diminishes in flight, this panel will open automatically and release oxygen masks.
The oxygen masks
this
can
length.
vary from aircraft to
Sit down.
aircraft.
You extinguish all smoking materials immediately. Pull the mask down sharply to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your mouth and nose. Bring your ear strap. And adjust them on either side.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You might feel a bit of a descent on the aircraft. That's normal. All right, you keep the mask over your mouth and nose until the flight attendant asks you to remove it. All right?
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
All right. Now we also have a life jacket contained in a pouch underneath your seat. If you'd like to get familiar with it and take it out. Fine. To remove the life jacket, you have to undo these two snaps. That's right. In just a moment, I will get you a demonstration. The life jacket's already out. You just had to just kind of reach in and pull it out. That one's put away. Now, here's the demo life jacket. Do you want to get familiar with it? All right. You place it over your head like this. The rear straps are brought around and tied to the front. Like this. Then you tighten the jacket by pulling on these two ends. Perfect. Now, when you're at the door exit and you're just about to exit the door, you pull on these two tabs to inflate the jacket. You'll hear a loud hissing sound, which is perfectly normal. Don't be frightened by it.
Mm-hmm.
If your jacket doesn't inflate automatically, you use these two rubber tubes to inflate it manually. If you'd like to touch them, you can inflate them by blowing in them manually.
Okay.
All right, now in the event of an emergency on takeoff or landing, you will hear a command to brace yourself. What you do at that time is you stretch out your arms, cross them over, hold on to the seat in front of you, and press your head into your forearms. And you stay in that position until the aircraft comes to a full and final stop.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to try this?
Yes, please.
All right. Stretch out your arms, cross them over, grabbing the seat in front of you, leave them stretched out. Put your head down into your forearms. And you stay in that position till the...
Depending on the positioning of the seats, the passenger may have to be instructed on an alternate brace position.
All right. Do you have any questions at all on the emergency briefing I just gave you?
No, thanks. That's okay.
Everything's complete?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
If you have any questions, don't forget.
Okay, thank you
Call
very
us.
much.
All right.
Mr. Gamage can see the exits, but he uses a wheelchair for mobility, and without it, he may have difficulty getting to the exit in case of an emergency.
There you go.
He may want an individual safety briefing as well. It's important that he know which emergency exit is most suitable for his use and when he should use it.
There are two doors at the front where you came in. Further down the cabin, there are two window exits, and as well, there are two doors all the way at the rear. Now, perhaps it would be best for you to use the front doors as the exits in case of an emergency, and they are the closest ones to your seat. I'd like to mention the floor path lighting we have, which indicates to you the emergency exits. There are white lights and red lights in the track lighting on one side of the aisle. The red lights would indicate to you where the exit locations are. If we had to help you get to an exit in an emergency situation, how could we best do that?
If someone could lift me under the arms,
From behind, you mean?
yes, from behind, and take my wrist and pull me to the exit.
Mr. Gamache may not need as thorough an individual briefing as someone else.
And you
It is
can
up
bring
to the
it
flight
forward as
attendant
well.
and the passenger to determine how much individual assistance he may need.
Keep in mind,
Mr.
for
Gamache
takeoff
requires
and
the
landing,
same
put your
information
seat
as
back,
all
and
travelers
this chair
and may be able to get much of it through the general safety briefing. He may need to know more about his seatbelt, the location and use of his oxygen mask, the location and use of his life jacket,
which is underneath your
and the
seat.
best position to take should an emergency occur during the takeoff and landing phases of the flight.
Down and get it. There are two ways to protect yourself in an emergency. The first way would be to stretch out your arms, cross them over, and then grasp the top of the seat back in front of you and press your head into your forearms. Or else what you could do is bend forward, grab your ankles, and then press your head into your lap.
I think the first one is better.
Give it a try.
Okay.
Good. I'd just like to point out...
The flight attendant can show the passenger the safety feature card in the seat pocket and ask him if he has any questions.
Thank you very much.
I'll be back to see you later.
Okay, bye.
This young mother is not blind. She does not use a wheelchair for mobility. She has no visible disability. But Mrs. Gimo does have a young infant, and that means she may want or need an individual briefing too.
Just have to be stood under the seat in front of you for takeoff and landing. There you go. Are you familiar with the seat belt?
Yes, I am.
You are? Okay. Just make sure that it's snug around your hips and just around your hips and not the baby. Okay? And also for takeoff and landing, you hold your child in the burping position, close to you.
As with all other passengers requiring or requesting an individual briefing, point out the emergency exits.
And also your chair.
A door exit would be the most appropriate for her use should it become necessary.
On either side.
As well, point out the floor-level lighting. You may want to show her the call button and the air vent, the seat control, and the table tray.
In the event of an emergency on takeoff or landing, you will hear the command to brace. At that time, you would take your child, hold them in the burping position, bend over, keep your head down, and remain in that position until the aircraft comes to a full and final stop. All right? I'd like to ask you also if you're familiar with the oxygen on this aircraft.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not. Okay. There you go. If the oxygen pressure should weaken in flight, the panel above you will open automatically and expose 4 oxygen masks, an extra mask for child. Pull the mask towards you, giving it a good tug to start the flow of oxygen. You put your mask on first. Place it this way. Over your mouth and nose. Strap goes around your head. You can adjust it just by pulling on these. Remain seated. Breathe normally and do not remove the masks until advised by a crew member. Also, there's a card in your seat pocket with some emergency features, if you can take a minute to read it before takeoff. All right, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Crew members are on board for the safety of all passengers and must be prepared to adapt the safety briefing in order to meet the needs of hearing-impaired passengers, passengers who cannot understand the language of the briefing, and all others for whom the standard pre-flight safety briefing may not be adequate. Crew members are trained to evaluate and obtain information from the passenger to determine the level of assistance required by an individual in the event of an emergency. An emergency occurring either in flight, during the takeoff, or during the landing phase of the flight. Flight attendants ensure that the safety equipment and procedures on an aircraft are clearly understood. Understood by all passengers.